Hello, welcome to more yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you are all well. It has been extremely smoky here in Vancouver and on the West Coast. I know a lot of people are suffering from smoke, but also from fires. So anyway, I hope that you're all doing well. In light of the heavy smokiness, I can't do a lot, so we won't be doing a flow today. I thought we would do some gentler yoga that will focus more on, in theory, opening up the lung and heart meridians in the body. So these theoretical lines of energy that can help if you unblock them in theory, in traditional Chinese medicine or in the Vedic system, that you can, if you so unblock these meridians, then your organs will work better. So maybe we believe in that. Maybe it just feels like a really nice stretch for a lot for the chest, the upper back, the armpits, and stuff like that. So you're going to want to have a pillow at least today. And if you have a couple blocks or some boxes, something that you can put a little bit of weight on and will lift up from the floor, that would be a really great help. So go ahead and pause the video if you want to and gather those things. If you don't have any of these things, then at the very least, a pillow or two. And I will try to give options for all of those for you today. So to start out, we're going to be coming back in a reclined position, but a little bit lifted up, because as soon as I lie all the way down on my back, my lungs start to get you can hear it, start to get a little bit gross. So I'm going to set up the blocks something like this. If you don't have blocks, don't worry about it. Then you're just going to stack two pillows. But if you happen to have all of these yoga props, we might as well use them, right? So then a pillow or a bolster, if you have a long bolster, can go on top. Again, if you don't have these sort of structural things underneath, don't worry about it. Just grab yourself 2 or 3 pillows and then just stack them on top of each other and you'll get the same effect. It's all good. And then you're going to set up with your bum on the floor, particularly if you have a bolster or you don't want to be sitting up on it. And you're going to walk yourself back, so that you lie back. Now, I just slid everything. There we go. So sometimes it's a little bit tricky to set up. And I'm going to scooch down so that my head is supported, so that my neck doesn't have to do a lot of work. So I might slide down a little bit more, but the idea is that your bum is on the floor, your head is supported at least a little bit, and you're able to get some lift through the torso, and you're able to open through the chest. So the arms out to the side is a really lovely place to go. You could even do a couple snow angels or like partial snow angels to see if there's somewhere that feels really extra lovely across the chest. And your legs could be bent, they could be straight. You might choose to take, like I am, a butterfly position with the legs, soles of the feet together, knees wide. And for a few breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh your breath away. A couple more. And continue breathing however you need to, whether it's in and out through your nose or your mouth. And not too deeply, right? Particularly if you can smell smoke wherever you are, right? You don't want to be breathing that in super deeply. Hopefully that you are all somewhere safe. So just a gentle, natural breath. If you happen to be somewhere that has lots of great filtration for the air, then go ahead and deepen your breath if you wish. And notice how your breath feels. Maybe there are some sticky or choppy spots. You might gently try to lengthen through those parts to smooth your breath out a little bit. For me, I feel less stickiness and choppiness than I do kind of like a tightness in a certain part of the breath. So I try to breathe a little bit more deeply into that part. Those of you with asthma might understand a bit better what I'm talking about. And maybe you're somewhere where it's not smoky at all, in which case, if your breath is flowing freely, then acknowledge that. Last few moments here in this really beautiful supported position. And slowly start to bring a little bit of movement back to your body. You can use your hands to draw the thighs toward each other if they were in that butterfly position. And then keep your knees bent, feet to the floor, heel until your feet apart mat width, and allow your knees to hang in toward each other for a couple breaths. And then heel until them back to center. And then shift your hips one way, roll over to your side. And use your hands, press yourself up to a seated position. I honestly could stay in that supported fish variation for a very, very long time. However, let's keep moving. So I'm going to show you again a few options for setup. For some of you, you're going to have a block and then a pillow over top here. Maybe you just have two pillows. Maybe you have a thinner block and a pillow. If you have a bolster, like one of those longer sort of yoga pillows, you want to set it up across your mat rather than lengthwise. So across the mat. And then shimmy a little bit closer to the bolster. And we're going to lie sideways over top of the bolster. And if you have an extra block or a pillow for underneath your head, then that's a really great place to be. And then bend the knees, right? Just find a comfy-ish position. You might want a bit of padding underneath your hip, potentially, if that's a little bit hard on the floor. And depending on how high your pillows are, you may want more or less support for your head, but essentially you want your neck to be in neutral and the shoulder and the hip to be touching the floor as much as possible, right? Depending on the shape of your body, the shape of the pillows, but we're looking for an arc or a lateral flexion through the spine. Okay, so a couple breaths here. And then think of breathing into the pillow a little bit more. So you're getting a little massage on the bottom side of your body. For me, it's the right side, but you know, it doesn't matter what side you're on. And then the top side is getting a little bit more opening. Now, if you'd like even more opening through the top side, then you think of extending that top leg along the floor. And then you might just drape the top arm over top of your head. And then you can really start to inhale, sort of puffing up the ribs on that top side. Maybe you walk your fingertips away from you, really reaching overhead. So you're getting long line. And this is where you might want to adjust for your head and neck. Couple more breaths here. And then on your inhale, start to reach your fingertips all the way up to the sky. And you might look up just to see what you're doing, but you might have your fingers normal. You might take Jnana Mudra, which is your forefinger to your thumb, if you wish. And then very small circles. Imagine you're painting on the ceiling or on the sky. Right? Starting super small, and then go the opposite direction. So this is where we're really starting to get into the heart and the lung meridians, again, in theory. And then maybe you take bigger circles if you wish, but just a couple more breaths here. Okay, and then the bottom arm extended out in front of you, and then as you exhale, slowly bring your hand to your hand or your forearm to your forearm, whatever works for you here. And then an inhale, start to lift that top arm up to the sky. As you exhale now, you're going to open out to the side. And then inhale back up. You can bend the top knee for a little bit more balance. And exhale back to where you started. So we're going to just flow with your own breath on your own time. Inhale to the sky. Exhale to open out. Inhale back up. And exhale over. So as gentle as you need to go. And then the next time that you might open up into that twist, you might pause there. And you can sort of adjust your body a little bit to open up a bit more. I've just rolled off my pillow. Ideally, you want to stay on your pillow so you still have that little bit of lift. But a couple breaths here. And then inhale back up to the sky. And exhale over to the side. Couple breaths just to reset. And then bring your hands to the floor. Gently press yourself up to hands and knees. Take a little wiggle or shake, a little cat and cow. Just to massage out that side of the body and release it. And then you're going to lie down, and on the opposite side, I'm just going to switch the mat so you can see me the whole time a little bit better. So coming down on the opposite side, a different side can be a totally different experience, right? I like to say that, but it's because it's true. So go into it gently. Again, hip on the floor, side of the body over the bolster or your pillow, shoulder on the floor as much as possible, and then maybe you prop underneath your head. So a couple breaths here, just with the knees bent, really gentle. You don't need to get into that deep stretch right away. Feeling it out. And then maybe you choose to extend that top leg. And then maybe you just gently drape the top arm over top of your head. And maybe you start to reach the fingertips up and away from you. Really breathing into the top ribs. And then slowly start to bend that top knee again as you inhale. Reach your top arm up to the sky. And again, you might gently look up to the sky just to see what you're doing. Either fingertips all pointing up, or maybe Jnana Mudra on that top arm. And then very subtle, gentle, small circles being painted on the ceiling. Right. So you're using the whole arm. You're activating the shoulder joint rather than just doing fingertips, right, or wrist. And then make sure you go the opposite direction as well. And this is pretty subtle work. It might not feel like you're doing much, but see how you feel after this yoga session versus how you felt before. And then slowly bring that top arm to meet your bottom arm, palm to palm-ish to start with. And then on your inhale, lift your top arm up to the sky. Exhale, open it out to the opposite side. Getting that big twist, inhale back up. And exhale, close. Like you're opening and closing a book. Except the spine of your book is a little bit bulged underneath, right? We've got that pillow underneath. Maybe you stay open in your twist for a few breaths. You can sort of adjust your position again depending on where you want to be. And then on your last inhale, come back up to the sky. And exhale, close it out. Couple breaths here just to pause and reset. And then gently press yourself up again to hands and knees. Little wiggle or shake. You might be facing the back edge of your mat at the moment. Maybe the top edge. Doesn't really matter. And if you need to see what we're doing, then go ahead and face the top edge. Knees underneath hips. Toes can be tucked or untucked. Hands outer shoulder width apart or wider. And let's move through cat and cow. So inhale, lift the tailbone, hollow through the lower back, broaden through the collarbones. Exhale, round through your spine. Really tuck the tailbone under, press the floor away. Inhale to dip belly. Exhale, round. So a couple more of these on your own time, on your own breath. Even notice here how your breath is flowing. Maybe it feels a little bit more open than it did at the start, maybe not. And that's fine too. Last couple breaths, just move however you want to move. And on your exhale, come back to center. Really plant your left hand. On your inhale, pick up the right arm. Maybe lift it all the way up to the sky. Exhale, thread it underneath the left. Try to keep your arm as close to your wrist as you can, but don't get too comfy. Inhale all the way back up. And exhale, thread. One more time. Exhale, thread, and here start to settle toward the floor. So again, keeping your arm as close to your wrist as you can. Start to bring the back of the shoulder, the side of the head down. Right? Maybe you're propping underneath your head, giving yourself a little bit more cushioning, bringing the earth up to you. And then start to play around here, right? Maybe you're just really pressing the left fingertips into the floor. You can start to walk them up to the top edge of the mat or maybe over to the right. You might drape the arm behind the back. You can bring the heel of the hand into the right wrist crease to get more traction. Wherever you need to go. Last couple breaths. And bring your left hand back underneath your shoulder. Inhale, press yourself back up. Hands and knees, little wiggle, shake to release. And then right hand planted, inhale the left arm out or maybe up. Exhale, thread it underneath the right. Again, keeping the arm close to the wrist. Inhale, back up. Exhale, thread. One last time. And then start to settle toward the earth. Again, maybe bringing the back of the shoulder to the floor, the side of the head. And just see how it feels on this side. You're playing around maybe with what that right hand does. Imagining that you're breathing space into the back of that left shoulder blade. And then bring your right hand back underneath you. Inhale. Press yourself back up. Little wiggle or shake, cat and cow, whatever you need to do. And then come back to center. We're going to use the pillows again or blocks if you have them. I'll show you both variations. So a lot of times you'll see this next pose. It's kind of like a mix between melting heart and child's pose, but it's with the elbows lifted. So it's like child's pose, but the elbows lifted. Often you'll see it with one block. For me, that's not comfortable because my shoulders are quite wide. So I would set it up with 2 blocks. So you come to hands and knees and you bring your elbows to your blocks and then allow the chest to sink down. Maybe bring the hands in prayer to behind the neck, and then you can adjust how narrow or how wide your elbows are. Again, if you would like to use a pillow instead, then you just bring a pillow in front of you or 2 to find that little bit of lift. However you need to go. And the blocks can, of course, be on whatever height you want them to be on as well. So finding your way down, maybe wiggling the hips back or the knees back a little bit. A little active press of the palms together helps keep the shoulders active. And that you might feel this opening through the armpits a little bit more. And if this is not comfortable at all for you, then I suggest just a normal child's pose, elbows bent, and hands in prayer. One more inhale. One sweet exhale. And slowly start to unwind, come out of it, back to hands and knees, little wiggle or shake, and then step to the top edge of your mat into a standing forward fold. You probably thought we weren't going to stand up at all today. Well, don't worry, we won't be up for long. A little bounce or sway. And then fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. 2 more. And then bend your knees, chin to your chest. Slowly start to roll up to standing. 1 vertebra at a time, slow as you need to go. Till eventually you come all the way up. A little loop of your shoulders up, back, and down. A little wiggle or reset. And then bring your feet hip width apart, possibly even a little bit wider depending on how that feels for you today. Feel the hug of the legs toward each other, a little squeeze of the bum, belly button to spine, shoulder blades on your back, and then bring your hands to your lower back. Not quite so far down as the sacrum, but also not up in that sort of dip of the lower back. So actually on the top of your pelvis. And then wrap your elbows toward each other, wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. This might be your back bend today. If you would like a little bit more, squeeze the bum, start to press the hips forward, and keep squeezing the shoulder blades toward each other so that you create a little platform for your heart. Maybe you start to look up without releasing the neck. Some of you might choose to interlace the hands behind you and slide them down the thighs, really wrapping the shoulder blades toward each other. Last breath here. Inhale all the way back up to the sky. Exhale, release, forward fold. That's enough standing. Little wiggle, little sway. Fingertips to shins. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it go. Bend your knees and then step back to hands and knees. And then from there, shift all the way forward onto your belly. I'll show you this from a couple sides, a couple angles. You're going to take your right fingertips out to the side. Left arm goes straight out, and you start to roll yourself very gently over top of your shoulder. This is a really great place to have a bolster, a pillow, or something like that underneath your head. So again, left arm's out to the side, right fingertips. You start to gently roll yourself over top. Your legs might be straight. I just don't want to kick my bookshelf over. Right. So here, maybe you bring a little pillow underneath your head. And then just see, you might pause here. Maybe you start to bend that top knee. I'm thinking of taking like a kickstand behind you, sole of the foot to the floor, knee high. Maybe you start to take that right arm and drape it behind your back. And you can play with that left arm straight, or maybe you back out of it a little bit and try the elbow bent. For me, the elbow bent is not good, but for other people, it's perfect. So last few breaths in this really lovely chest opener. And then as slowly as you got into it, start to unwind. This is very delicate joint across the front of the shoulder. So a couple breaths on your belly just to pause, reset, allow the tissue to rebound. And then we'll go the opposite way. So right arm out to the side, come up onto the left fingertips, and then slowly start to roll yourself over top of that right shoulder. Right, you might just stop here with the head to the floor or to a pillow. Maybe you're able to get the hips to stack, and then it becomes a pretty solid position. It all depends on how that feels across the chest and the shoulder, though. Maybe you kickstand the top leg behind you. Maybe that left arm drapes behind the low back. As always, the idea is not to feel pain, but you will feel tension across the front of that shoulder joint, across the chest. You might feel a little bit of compression in the back, but as long as you're pain-free, then this is a really beautiful way to open up. This is something that I teach in yin yoga. Often we could stay here for even 5 minutes per side. But we don't have time for that today. So last few breaths here. And then slowly start to unwind. Again, as slowly as you came into it, come back to your belly. Allow the fascia on that right arm, shoulder to rebound. And then, however you want to, start to press yourself up to hands and knees. And I think it would be a really fantastic time to end the same way that we began today. So setting up your 2 pillows or your blocks in your pillow, however you would like to, whether they're on a kind of angle or maybe lie flat. And if you prefer to just lie flat, then you're welcome to. And setting up any kind of way for your rest that you would like to set up, and then gently lower yourself back Again, make sure that your head has a little bit of support. And then for a few breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh. Have a breath away. A couple more. And then with each exhale, imagine your body melting deeper into the earth, deeper into your pillows. Let go of all breath control, but notice how it's flowing. Maybe it feels a little bit different from the start of the class. Hopefully it feels a bit better. It might not, and that is okay too. Let go of any last muscle tension or gripping, particularly in your face or your jaw. Thoughts may come and go. Acknowledge them without judgment, but let them go. Let them drift by you like leaves on the wind. Stay longer here if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.